Thinking about our if statements, remember we said that an if statement conditionally executes another statement. And if you think about it, we never saw any kind of end if or anything like that. So how do we execute multiple statements conditionally? Well, that's where a block statement comes in. A block statement groups individual statements into a compound statement. So if we have a series of statements that we want to group together, what we can do is wrap them in an opening bracket and a closing bracket. And that now makes them a compound statement and enables them to be treated as a single statement. So we look at this in code. I have some code set up here where I've got v1 equal 10, v2 equal 4, and a variable diff. And I say if v1 is greater than v2, and I put in diff equals v1 minus v2, print out v1 is bigger, and then diff. The way this code is currently written, the assignment of diff equals v1 minus v2 is conditional on whether v1 is greater than v2. But the two print statements there, v1 is bigger and diff, will print every time because only the single statement of the assignment of diff is tied to the condition. So that's where block statements come in. By putting a open bracket after the if, and then a closed bracket after that print of diff, now that becomes a block statement. And so the if now condition is tied to those entire three statements. Similarly, I can do that with like an else if. Right? So I've got else if v2 greater than v1. Although, by the way, I have my code indented, it looks like all three of these statements, the diff assignment and the two printouts, are tied to that v2 greater than v1. Currently, only the diff assignment is tied to the condition. Again, I need to put an open bracket and a closed bracket to bring those into a block statement. And then here I also add an else. Now, the thing to note is that block statements are kind of independent from one another, right? So if you have an if and an else if and an else, if you want to have block statements on part of them like I do on the if and the else if, but just single statements on other parts like we do with the else, right, that's just fine. Just one other thing I want to bring note to as well in this code. Notice the very first line of code. I'm doing a variable declarations in a way I haven't done before. Notice that on one line, I'm declaring multiple variables of type int. Right? Normally in all of our other code, we've done those on individual lines. And I just wanted to show you here that you can actually do multiple variable declarations on the one line like that. So we're saying that v1 is an int that has a value of 10 initially, v2 is an int that has a value of 4 initially, and diff is an int that's not yet initialized.